Greetings everybody, myself Palkumar Patel. Welcome to LeetCode problem solving series. Today we are going to figure out how to get lucky. Yes, today we are going to solve question number 1945, sum of digits of string after convert. Okay, and I was saying that because our function is get lucky. So we are going to start by understanding the problem, then move to the most optimal solution directly because of the complexity of the problem. After I will make you understand what the problem is, you will also easily figure out how we can get to optimal solution directly. So let's start by understanding the problem, what it's trying to say. So we are given a string, okay, which contains lowercase letters only, okay, from A to Z and nothing else. No characters except lowercase letters are present in the string, okay, and our task is basically much simpler. Okay, let me show you by an example. Okay, our input contains not only the string, it also contains an integer called k. Okay, now what is the use of k? I will explain you just now. So our task is simple. Okay, see, as I mentioned, we are given a string containing lowercase letters. Okay, now the actual use of k is that the number of times of which k is given. Okay, so in the first test case, you can see k is given 1. Okay, so our task is that we need to transform. Okay, we need to transform this given input string. Okay, this much times the number of times k is given. Okay, we need to transform our given input string k times. Okay, now what do you mean by transform? Transform means to convert the strings, letters, we can say place values by taking a sum of them. Okay, let me just show you by an example. See, in the third test case, our string is this ZBAX. Okay, and our k given is 2. Now it means that we need to transform this given string 2 times. Okay, now let me show you what is transform. See, as I mentioned, first we will take the place values of all the letters which are present in our string. Okay, so Z's place value is 26. You know, according to the alphabets list, B is at 2, A is at 1, and X is at 24. Okay, now what do you mean by transforming a string? See, transforming a string means, as I mentioned, the sum of all the place values. Okay, it will be only applied one time. Okay, after first time transforming, the transformation of the string actually means the sum of the current number. Okay, of the current sum. Okay, you can see here that see, we are given k equal to 2, so it means that we need to transform this 2 times. So as I mentioned, first time, for transformation of first time of this string, we will take the place values, which as you can see 26, 2, 1 and 24, and then we will just sum it. This will be our k equal to 1. Okay, as you can see, k equal to 1 is the sum of all the place values. After that, you know that you can see that we got 53 as our answer. Now from this first time, all the times which are remaining to transform, we just need to do the sum of the digits of the current sum. Okay, now current sum is 53. So for transforming it again, for second time transformation, we just need to do the sum of the digits of the current sum. Now current sum is 53, like 53 is the current sum of the number. For transforming it again, we just need to do the sum of all the digits. So 5 plus 3 gives us 8. So 8 is our answer, which we need to return. This means that we have transformed this string 2 times. Okay, I hope you would have understand what I'm trying to say. First time we need to take the place values and do the sum of it. After that first time, for all the times of transformations, we just need to take digits of the current sum and do it sum again. Okay, now for solving this problem, let's just move to the optimal solution. Okay, I'll just explain why I just directly jump to the optimal solution. Okay, see, uh, first of all, let's just think how we can solve this problem for the straightforward part. Okay, now you know that our there is again, like last problem, in the last problem as I mentioned, in this one also there is one task which is repeatedly again and again. Okay, which you can see that doing the sum of the digits of the current number. Okay, now most of you would just know that for doing the sum of digits of a number, we just need a complete while loop and a temporary variable too. Okay, temporary will store the current number, and for doing the sum of digits of that number, we will need a while loop, which will like run by dividing and doing the modulo operator. It will completely get help us to get the sum of the number that we want. Now this is a complete operation which is happening in this problem repeatedly. Okay, this much times. So for doing that, for this repeated task, we obviously can't use a nested while loop inside a current loop. Okay, so for just avoiding that nested loop and saving time, instead of doing a nested while loop, we'll make a different function. Okay, we will make a function, because you know that in normally languages, the repeated task which we need to do again and again, that block of code which is being repeated again and again, we just make a function for that, and we call that when we are needed. So let's just name this function for this task as sum doer, because it is doing sum. Okay, inside that we will obviously pass an integer k, and inside the function what we'll do is that we will again declare a variable called answer, which we will return at the end, which will contain the sum of the past digit, or sorry, past number. And inside that process we will again run a while loop, and again at the starting we will just run the while loop till current k is greater than 0. Okay, this is a traditional method to get the sum of the digits, you know, that running a while loop and doing modulo and division inside. So as I mentioned, currently we will just do that itself. We will declare an integer dg, and inside that we will store the last digit one by one, and then we will just do the sum, answer plus equal to dg. Okay, this way answer will contain the sum of all the digits, and after that we will just divide, so that that last digit which we have got to sum inside this answer, we can just remove that from the current number, which can help us to move to the next number. Okay, and at the end of the function we will just return the answer. Okay, this way we are having a function which can help us to repeat this task of getting sum of the digits again and again. Okay, now since we have figured this out one time of this problematic thing, now let's just move to completely solve the problem till depth. So you know that for first transformation we will obviously need to get the digits, like place values of letters that we currently have. So for that we also would need a complete for loop, okay, by using which we can just get, like, by subtracting a as a character, we can get the we can say place values. Okay, you know why? Let me just show you in the code. Okay, as I mentioned, we will run a loop from the starting character to the ending character. Okay, here it will be s dot size. Okay, and after that complete iteration, inside that what we'll do is that we'll simply add the, we can say, digits, so place values of the current letter. For that, for storing that, see, as you can see here, if we will directly add the digit in the form of integer, we can't just solve this problem efficiently, like we will fail. Why? Because as you can see here, in this example of zvax, you can see that if we do it, like do the sum directly, what will happen is it will add 26 directly, which we don't want. See, as you can see here, we want, if z's place value is 26, then we want to do it like 2 plus 6. Okay, now for doing that we can't just directly add it, like we can't do num plus equal to this s of I minus a. We can't do this, because after doing this, num will directly be add like 26, which will be the place value of z. It will be directly added to num, like num will be plus 26, which we don't want. We want it to plus 2 plus 6. Okay, you know what's the difference between plus 26 and plus 2 plus 6. Okay, for doing that, what we can do is that we can just get all these digits in the form of string, and after storing them one by one in a string, we can just directly convert it into number, like integer form, by subtracting 0 from it as a character. Okay, I also mentioned this trick in earlier videos too, that for converting a digit which is present in the form of character, we can just directly subtract 0 from it in the form of character, because as we are performing mathematical operation, so its ASCII value will be taken as a consideration, and when ASCII value of that digit in the form of character will be taken, if we subtract 0's ASCII value, then after that subtraction mathematical operation, we will get that digit in the form of normal integer from that character part. So this way we will just get all the digits one by one in a string after, like, during this for loop, and after completion of this for loop, we will just convert it into the form of integer and do sum after that. Okay, by doing that part, as I mentioned, subtracting 0 in the form of character. So as I mentioned just now, approach, let's just go for it. Okay, as I mentioned, we will declare a string called nums, okay, which will be empty, and inside this, the for loop, the primary for loop, where we will get the place values of each and every letter. Okay, we will store the letters, we can say place values, in the form of string inside this nums of I. Okay, and if we do this operation as of I minus a in the form of character, as I mentioned, it will provide us the integer value of the place value. Also, we can't just directly add that in the string, because string, like integer, can't be added into a string. It's obviously impossible. So for adding that into string, we will also use here toString, so that after getting the integer part of the place value of current letter, we can just convert it into string and then add into the string. Okay, because we can't directly add an integer into the string. So for converting that place value into string form, we will just use toString method. And also here, by doing this, we can't directly get the place value, because that a's place value, when subtracted, it will give one letter less. Like for example, it's z, so 26 minus a's place value, which will be 1, so 26 minus 1, it will give 25. But for z, we want 26, so here we will also add +1, so that we can balance that subtraction part out. Okay, I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. So after completion of this for loop, we will have a nums string, which will contain all the place values of all the letters that we have in the input string. Okay, so now as we have a string containing all the place values of all the letters, let's just iterate through that string and get all the digits and do the sum of that inside another variable, which will be our integer. So integer, let's just name it as num. Okay, it will be 0 in the start, and now we will iterate the nums string, where we have the place values of all the letters of our given input string. And during that iteration, what we'll do is, as I mentioned, we will just subtract 0 from our current character of the place value. Okay, so now you know that now we have this string. Okay, and inside this string, we will iterate like 2, then 2 in the form of character minus 0, which will give us integer part of 2, and then we will add that 2 inside num. Okay, this way we can do this operation very easily. Okay, so after completion of this for loop, num will be having 17. For this test case, num will be containing a num variable will contain 17 as its value. Okay, now see, this operation, this means that we have done first transformation successfully. Now you know that the number of transformations are fixed with us. Okay, it's just not like we need to do one transformation only. Okay, because that number of transformation completely depends on k. So this for loop that we ran, okay, after running this for loop, it means that we have done first transformation successfully. So let's just say that we want to do more transformations. Okay, for that we have this sum doer. So you know that num will contain first transformations value. So if we want to do further more transformations, we will just pass this num inside this sum doer function. Okay, so that for that number of transformations can be done perfectly. So after doing first transformation, we need to decrease the k by 1. Okay, why? Because you know that see, for example, k equal to 2 is in the second test case. Now after doing first transformation, if we will process k directly, then it will give us a wrong answer, because then number of transformations will not be 2, it will be 3, because we have already done first transformation here. So for that, counting that first transformation, we need to decrease k by 1, which we have done here. Now after this, for checking if we need to do more transformations or not, we will just run a while loop. Okay, now why I'm running this while loop? Because as I mentioned, we need to check if there are more number of transformations remaining or not, for which we'll be using k. And by like using that k inside the while loop, what we'll do is that if k equal to 0, just store the sum of the current digits of num inside num itself. Like we will modify num's value by storing the sum of all the digits, like transforming num and storing that into num itself, so that we just can take less space for this problem. Okay, here we are doing memory optimization by storing the transformed number into num itself. Okay, so this way at the end of this while loop we will have our final answer after all the number of present transformations inside num. So we will just return num here. Okay, I also just forgot one thing here, that we need to decrease k also, because after doing transformation we need to decrease the k by 1 so that we can keep the track of the number of transformations. Okay, otherwise this loop will run forever. So after completion of this code, you can see that we are starting by getting all the place values of the current letters into num's named string. After getting that place values, we are iterating through that string and getting each and every digit from that num string and adding that into num named variable, which is an integer. Okay, after completion of that loop, we are having the completion of first transformation. So we are decreasing k by 1 so that we can count that transformation. And after that, we are just checking if we have more number of transformations left, then we are just using this function as I mentioned in the start of the code, which will help us to transform a number by adding it by like taking the sum of all the digits and just storing them into num itself. Okay, so we are saving memory too. Instead of like making a new variable, we are modifying num itself. So this way at the end after returning, we can just solve the problem perfectly. So let's see if this works for the problem. Like works for the main. Okay, okay, yeah, I just did here 0 instead of I. I'm sorry for that. Like we need to use the iterator obviously inside the num. So yeah, that works perfect. Now let's just submit code to check if that works in cases. Oh yeah, it works perfectly. Okay, you can see that the runtime beats 100% and the memory is also not much optimized. Okay, because we are using a complete string and integer just for transforming and like storing the digits of the num. So due to that, the memory is not optimized. Okay, so this was the solution. Okay, I think we can just optimize this much further. Okay, let's just see how we can optimize this. So I have an idea. Okay, instead of taking a complete string and just storing like for like this complete block of code that we are doing, where we are taking a string and storing that, and after that we are using another loop for just getting the digits of the place values. What we can do is that we can do this complete operation into a single loop without using this string. Okay, let's just see that how we can do that. Okay, we will obviously need this block of code because we need to check for the next transformations too. But for this like getting place values and adding the digits like first transformation, we can do that much easier. Like instead of this code, like instead of this one, we can do much easier way. Let me just show you that. Okay, see here, instead of a string, we will just declare a single num which will contain again the first transformations value. And for that, we will just iterate through the string one time, and during that iteration, what we'll do is that uh, we will just first of all, obviously we will need to get the place value. Okay, like instead of iterating through the complete string like from start to end perfectly and just getting the place values only, what we can do is we can process the place values one by one inside for one loop only. How? Let me just show you. Okay, so inside this we can have an integer again which will be val. Okay, value or val, and inside that we will have the place value of the current we can say letter, because we are iterating. So for current letter we can store that letter's place value inside this val named temporary integer. How? You know that as I just showed, s of I minus a and plus 1 for balancing out that one value. And now if, as you know, that we have the current letters place value inside val named variable, and now what we can do is for processing that, see if that well will be one digit only. Okay, then obviously we can just directly add that. So num plus equal to that well. But instead of doing that, see num like val can be two digit also. Like you can see here 12, or we saw in this test case we are having 26 also. So for that type of we can say place values, let us place values which are having two digits. Okay, it is fixed. The range of place value is obviously fixed from 1 to 26 only. It won't be greater than 26. So we know that we are having a range that either it can be single digit or it can be double digit. So we can use an if and else, okay, for processing this val inside this single loop, that if the current val is greater than or equal to 10, okay, to check if it's two digit or not. If that's two digit, what we need to do, that see for 26 for example, if we have uh, if we have 26, then for processing that, what we can do is, for getting 6, we can do val equal to val percentage 10, by doing which we can easily get 6. And after doing that, we can do val divide by 10, so that we can get 2. Okay, I hope you would have understand. See this process, this complete process of first getting the last digit and then getting the first digit. Okay, because we know that our digit, like our place value will be obviously from either it will be single digit or it will be double digit. Okay, so as we know that, we will just use an if condition to process that two digit place value. Okay, how you see here that we will process that, pass that into if, to check if it's two digit. Then just add first the last digit, for which we will do val percentage 10, and after that add the first digit, for which as I mentioned we will do val divide by 10. Okay, so 26% and 10 will give us 6. So first we will add 6 and then val divide by 10. So 26 divided by 10 is 2. So we will get 2. So 2 and 6 we got differently in a single digit, and we will add that into num. So this way we can process that two digit number. Otherwise inside else we can just directly add that. Directly add well. So if it will be between 0 to 9, it will be directly added by using if else. And if it's greater than or equal to 10, it will be processed inside this if, this way as I mentioned just now. For getting last digit we will use modulo, and for getting first digit we will use division operators. So this way we can like directly process the letters place value inside single for loop only. Okay, we can just save two for loops, time and memory, and one complete different strings memory also, by just using a single variable and a temporary variable val, and using a single for loop only for lesser time complexity. Now after storing inside num, what we will do is like I think we just don't need to do anything. Okay, we will have for z we will have 26, then here it will be 2 and 6 added into num, and like we can just directly move to the next one. So after completion of this for loop, we will have num containing the first transformation of the complete given input string. So now, as I just mentioned in the earlier approach, that we are doing first transformation already, so we'll just decrease k by 1. Okay, so that we can track k correctly also. Now let's just check if this is actually working or not. Okay, I hope this works. So yeah, I mentioned, let's submit this. I hope the mass. So yeah, you just saw in the first approach it was 26%, and now it's increased by 50%. Okay, so you just saw that I optimized the code on the go only, because I just like noticed this thing, that instead of using two loops and a complete different string, we can just use a single integer and a single loop to process the place values personally. Okay, so this way, this where the completely approaches. Okay, all both of them will be were optimized, but the second was much memory optimized. So this were the approaches to solve this problem. If you like the way I approach the question and solve them, you can just like the video and get down some good comments, some good feedback. And if you have any other feedback too, you can also mention them in the comments below. Like the video and subscribe the channel. And also, if you want to connect with me personally, you can get that connection link in the description of the video. Thank you for staying till the end. If you want more content related to tech and coding, you can also subscribe to the channel and follow with me along. Thank you for staying till the end. Thank you.